Beautiful day today. Water looks very inviting. So what have I done? Well, always an opportunity for me to show off the beautiful disco. So from a previous video you've seen that I've modified, added an EGT gauge. I'll show you that again. That one right there. So I've got a separate video for that, and the wire just goes through the sensor along with the boost hose and the engine temp sensor as well. Goes in through the little grommet over there, also with my low coolant alarm, which is fed through here all along there and all up back through the same grommet. And what do we have here? We've got my custom made dash pod, which I haven't finished yet. That's got to get covered, and I've just got to fix up the wiring and so on inside. So this is the Orbit 2813 dual channel PID, or whatever they call them, gauge. This is a Cestos temperature gauge, and of course my boost. Now at the moment I'm reading my EGT on here, and what I'm planning on doing is putting a coolant alarm or coolant temperature, which will be read from this channel here, but that'll be another video. So what I've done so far is, after I've added the EGT, I've gone out, had a test run, took it to a nice decent, I think it was about a 2k hill, basically fourth gear, foot to the floor, doing 100k an hour at about 3000 RPM. And the gauge was reading, started off 500, then 600, then 690, 700, and it was climbing all the way to about 716, which I then thought, no, got to pull over and readjust the main fuel screw. Now the main fuel screw is, let's see if I can get this in here. Sorry about the bumpiness. The main fuel screw is this one here. Just below this connector here, you'll see that there's a, you can use a flathead screwdriver, and this here is the lock nut. And that one you'll need a 13mm ring spanner. You put your flathead screwdriver in there, you then twist to unlock, just like a normal anti-clockwise to unlock it, to undo it, and then this will be free to move. Now the way it works is you unscrew it to reduce fuel and screw it in to increase fuel. Now because my EGT was going up to 700 plus, 716 when I stopped the motor, I decided to reduce the fuel again. So I did a quarter of a turn backwards, unscrewed it a quarter of a turn, and then I took it for another spin, and my EGT maxed out at about 689. So I'm really happy with that. I want to keep it under 700 if possible. So now that I've got my max fuel set up, so my EGT under 700, even though 720 degrees Celsius is the safe working limit, I've decided to go for 700 under. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this. So the boost, or the compensator unit, I think it's called, something like that. So I'm going to modify, well, there's 3 components that I can modify, but I'm only thinking about modifying really 2 of them, but we'll see how we go. So I'm going to take this cover off. Underneath that should be a diaphragm, and underneath the diaphragm should be a spring, or with a star wheel, which adjusts the spring preload. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make sure that the diaphragm, which contains the pin to regulate the fuel, and I'll show you that when I do the video, I'm going to turn that to the max, because remember I've already done the main fuel screw, and I've got my max anyway, so I might as well max this out and see how much fuel I get in the back. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to screw in the star wheel. I'm probably going to try a quarter of a turn first, 90-degree turn first, to reduce the spring preload. So that way when the boost comes through, the diaphragm will actually drop quicker, earlier I should say, delivering more fuel. So I'm hoping that the turbo will spool up a bit quicker as such. Now, I'm not a diesel engineer by any stretch. All the information that I'm going to actually be talking about with modifying this is all available on the net. There's some really clever guys out there. All I've done is basically read their stuff in detail, try to understand how this thing works, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply that logic and just monitor the EGT and the smoke out the back and just go from there. So certainly this is not a tutorial, nor is it an instructional video, nor am I teaching anyone how to do this. It's basically me videoing the stuff that I've already read online. So I certainly don't take any credit for parting this knowledge on a video. Okay, so the next video I'll do is getting stuck into this thing. Talk to you soon.